3, 2, 1. Hey, it's Wild Josh from Geek-Cetera, and I'm joined by Joa, Chase, and Luke. And we're going to rank the Star Wars movies. Now, let's get geeky. So, every one of us is going to have a completely different list.
Hopefully.
And we're not going to be able to agree on one Geek-Cetera list. So instead, we're just going to tell you our lists. And we're going to start, well, to give you a little bit more, we've chosen 12 movies. So that
Every
would
Star Wars
include
movie.
all of the Skywalker saga, and it would include the 2 standalones, and it would include the Clone Wars movie because it was technically a movie. So,
Basically, all the canon feature films.
yes. So that starts with we're gonna go work our way up. So we're gonna start with our least favorite. 12.
Number 12.
Number 12. And I guess I'll start. This was not that hard for me. It was kind of between two, but I'm gonna go with the Clone Wars movie as number 12. It was bad. I mean, I love the Clone Wars series. Don't get me wrong, but the movie itself was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can agree with that somewhat. I think it's better than some of the other movies on this list.
Yep.
It's low on my list, I will say, but not as low as Josh puts it.
Yeah,
I'd
same
say-
with mine.
I'd say the Clone Wars is redeemable by the fact that it was early Clone Wars before they really knew what they were doing with the series.
And it gave us Ahsoka, who ends up being one of the best Star Wars characters. So it earns points back from that.
Well,
she was
does
terrible in
it?
that movie, but yeah.
Does it really? Did it really give us? Because I guess if you're not counting the series that she came from.
Well,
It's giving us-
the movie came out
started-
before the series.
Oh,
Yeah,
did
like
it?
was
The
a
movie was-
and then the series. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean that reveals the fact that it's on the bottom of my list, based only on the merit that I have never seen it.
And that's
You're not missing
fair. No, the story itself in that movie is not great.
Yeah. If you just watch the Clone Wars, I don't feel like you're losing much. The series, I mean, the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Like not having seen the movie.
To me, I think the movie
That was
could have
okay.
just been a filler episode in a random season if they had just shortened it.
I mean,
Like, that's how it feels.
there is. So if you go on Google, you can watch the Clone Wars chronologically. So it shows you the battle leading up to the Battle of Christophsis. Before Ahsoka even comes into the picture, there's an episode on that. And then it kind of leaves off right where the movie starts.
Because
So-
the series itself is like an anthology, where
Yeah,
like nothing
during-
is in chronological order.
It is
Right.
basically after season 4, I think everything is chronological order, but the first 3 seasons they really did not care. So
Yeah, they jumped around a lot.
mhm.
I think one of the first chronological episodes is actually in like season 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I know it's Cat and Mouse is the episode.
I know, like I'm still working through a backlog of Star Wars content, and I'm working my way through Clone Wars series right now, and that kind of threw me for a loop a couple of times. But I'm like, what? Didn't that just? What's going on? And then I'd have
Didn't
to
this
go-
character die?
Yeah, exactly.
Joe, is Cat and Mouse the one above the Battle of Christophsis, them breaking the blockade? Or
I'm
is
not
that
sure actually?
Or is that the Ryloth blockade?
I know it's got the spidery guy,
Yeah.
Admiral Trench.
Trench.
In
Yep.
it?
Admiral Trench, yeah.
But I can't remember what battle it was. I
Yeah,
think
it's-
Christophsis was later than that.
Okay.
Because I don't think it was the Battle of Christophsis that was.
I
happening
thought it
there.
was that one because I remember Ahsoka wasn't in that episode. And I don't know.
It
I don't
was
remember
time
entirely,
before
but yeah,
Ahsoka.
that you get like 2 episodes leading up to the Battle of Christophsis. Then you have to jump all the way back like 2 years to the movie is the next like segment, which picks up immediately after, and then all the other stuff kind of falls around it, which is weird, but
Oh, apparently it is.
Cat
Cat
and
and
Mouse
Mouse,
is
Hidden Enemy,
Christophsis.
and then the Clone Wars theatrical.
Hidden
release.
Enemy. Yep, that's the one.
Those are the 3 earliest chronologically. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was me and Luke both with Clone Wars, right?
Yep.
Who's next?
I'm gonna
Sorry,
throw
not to
out.
move you on, but we have 12.
We do have 12 movies. I'm gonna throw TLJ, Star Wars: The Last Jedi, worst
Okay.
Star Wars movie ever. Just please don't do any more of that. I beg of you.
I'm not willing to make it the worst, but okay. It's definitely not high on my list.
The Last Jedi. Ironically enough, I'm not actually gonna spoil where I placed it in my list, but it is not. It's kind of in the middle.
Yeah,
my
I don't know. That
tier
movie was pretty irredeemable for me.
I
I feel
found
like
it.
there was some good parts though.
Yeah, so
I-
did I.
I think what's redeemable about that movie
Is that
that
they
it
cut
wasn't.
a dreadnought in half with another ship?
That was the part that I
That's
liked.
awesome.
Yes.
That's really cool. Them killing Snoke. I think the reason people hate it is because it wasn't what they wanted to see. They didn't want to see Luke be like this old guy on
That
the-
is definitely like the worst part
Because
of
Luke's
that
a hero,
entire series.
you know?
There are bits of that. I don't like that they kind of ruined the Luke Skywalker from my childhood, but then everything was just kind of pointless in that movie. So they kill Snoke. Sure, I understand if you're not going to make him the big enemy, but Episode
that, by the
7
way.
was building him up to be a big enemy. Then you have the rebels go hide on a planet. Literally, you're going to mimic Episode 5. It's a lot of just copying other movies, but what was the point of going to get the Codebreaker? Oh yeah, there literally was none. What was the
I
point of
think
going and
that's-
doing this? Oh, there literally was no point. It's like the entire movie felt like I didn't need it. There were so many side quests that were like irrelevant to the plot of the story.
I think that's what I liked about The Last Jedi actually.
It was unexpected.
You couldn't guess what it was going to do because everything it did kind of ended poorly for the protagonist. It was very much so the low point of their story. And I think that's what I enjoyed about it was because the bad guy kind of wins
Okay, but
in that one.
I want to argue that fact because I don't think that makes it a good movie. I think Empire Strikes Back is a fantastic movie, one of the best Star Wars films, and that's very dark side heavy. It doesn't really ever go right. You see Luke have a lot of internal conflict, loses a hand, the rebels are in bad shape. But The Last Jedi was like pointless. It didn't get you anywhere from episode 7 to episode
I think
9.
a lot of that is because they were following the formula of 4, 5, and 6 when they made those.
I
And,
feel like
in that it's the same exact ideas. You had the interesting hooky start where like you get into it and it kind of explains the story and the plot and the setting and everything, and then you had the low point. And then it's supposed to pick up in the last one. I think that was primarily what I liked very little about it was the fact that it was kind of beat for beat a replication of the Empire Strikes
I'm
Back.
taking Logan's comment as him agreeing with me, him saying too much filler. It was
There's a lot.
way too much
I
filler.
agree. I agree. It had too much filler. I will not say The Last Jedi is like the best of the Star Wars movies by any stretch, but I think it was different for me because I didn't want to see exactly copy paste Empire Strikes Back like what they did with The Force Awakens for A New Hope. I think they succeeded there. It didn't start with them on like a planet. They were running away the entire.
Instead, they ended on that planet. Literally, you have a mimic of like the trench scene from Hoth,
Yeah, but
even
it
on
made
another
more
white
sense to
planet.
me.
Like it.
It made more sense to me than them having like copy paste Yavin 4 Takadana, copy paste.
I'll put it
Tatooine
this way. When I saw The Force Awakens, my response was like that was disappointing that they went and they pretty much copied A New Hope verbatim. But I could also appreciate why they chose to do that. To say we can get the formula right. We can just ramp it up a little bit and we make it better. And I felt like they succeeded in that. It wasn't the best movie out there, but it was their goal. I was disappointed more when they didn't go forward from that and they continued to duplicate the same tropes. and
I
everything.
honestly think what makes the movie the worst is that it's Rian Johnson. Not anything bad personally towards Rian Johnson. It's the fact that they had J.J. Abrams do episode 7 and J.J. Abrams do episode 9. So kind of like where, even though J.J. Abrams wasn't originally supposed to do episode 9, but like they weren't coherent. It seems like the the original plan for that trilogy never really happened, and I think that's why the movies themselves were bad, because they didn't work together. I think if they'd worked together like episodes 4, 5, and 6 did, the new trilogy would have been pretty decent, because I think episode 7 was a good start for them. But then, because Rian Johnson took one thing and made it something completely different, and then J.J. Abrams had to try and like backtrack from it, it just makes the entire movie really pointless to me. And that's why it's at the bottom of my list.
I don't disagree with that, and I think my argument, I would expand on that they were lacking one of the major linchpins, which was actual well-written characters. And they started out in 4 with fantastic characters that you could do so much with, including Rey. Rey was an interesting character, but once they went on with it, when they should have expanded them further, they just all turned into mud. Rey should have had so much more development, and she never developed.
What I really would have loved to see is, I wish that the scene, like the flash, like the I don't know entirely what it was, of Darkseid Rey in episode 9, I think that would have been entirely new story for them to cover, is to have your hero fall all the way to the dark side. And I always said, like, my dream,
hero and villain swap places.
Yeah, I wanted her and Kylo to kind of swap places, but even if you don't, if she falls to the dark side and then gets redeemed at the end by maybe killing Kylo or something, but I feel like you could have done a lot of new story with the trilogy, and they really didn't go far enough different for me, and so I don't know. I think that's why I dislike it. I feel like you could have done so much. You had great characters. Adam Driver is amazing and carried that trilogy on his back.
He had so much back injuries after that trilogy.
Yeah, and I feel like they kind of wasted it. I feel like Finn could have been a cool character, a stormtrooper who gets redeemed.
I mean, he was in the first one.
Yeah,
so
and TFA was a good movie. I feel like we're spending probably a bit too much time on Last Jedi. I could argue about this movie for a week and a half straight, but I can tell Josh kind of wants to move on.
Well,
I haven't
12 and we're almost 15.
And we haven't even heard Joa's 12.
I
Yeah.
haven't even said it. My 12.
Sorry, Joa.
So I'm kind of going to add fuel to the fire here.
Yes.
The Rise of Skywalker. The reason is because it brought down the entire sequel trilogy. I think Last Jedi would have been amazing if The Rise of Skywalker capitalized on the plot it made.
Absolutely.
The reason I think Chase put The Last Jedi at the bottom of his list is because all of those plot developments that were in The Last Jedi were ignored.
They got
in
thrown
The Rise
away.
of Skywalker.
Yep.
They got thrown away.
So,
if it wasn't for The Rise of Skywalker, The Last Jedi would have been the best of the sequel trilogy.
A long time ago in a galaxy that didn't have COVID, Josh, myself, and Kyle were leaving a movie theater after seeing Star Wars The Last Jedi, and I wasn't sold on it, and I said that this movie is bad, and it will be entirely redeemed by Episode 9, and it will become a great movie.
So,
and that didn't happen.
Like The Empire Strikes Back, right?
Empire.
I was about to say that. So
I think it's different for me because
Back.
I didn't have to wait for Empire. Literally, my dad just sat me down and was like, "Here, let's watch Star Wars." I'm like, "What's Star Wars?" He's like, "Oh, you're gonna like it."
So here's the thing: when Empire Strikes Back originally came out, people hated it. But when The Last Jedi,
Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi, not Last Jedi.
Not Last Jedi.
I can't. Yeah, when Return of the Jedi came out, people realized that, hey, this is actually an amazing story. This is an amazing film.
Yeah.
And it builds up so nicely.
I think it's because George Lucas kind of had his hand and made it all strained together. I think, like I said, if Rian Johnson had done the entire trilogy or JJ had done the entire trilogy, I think it would have been a very different story.
I agree with that 100%. I think that's why the sequel trilogy failed, is because there was a lack of direction.
Yeah,
I can agree with that.
That's my number 12. Rise of Skywalker, terrible. Terrible
So
job.
we're going on to a number 11, which is probably going to cause a lot of... you guys are probably going to not like this one.
Are you going to say Phantom?
I'm much older than you guys. My number 11 is Phantom Menace.
I have Phantom Menace at number 11.
I have some very controversial opinions, apparently.
I love pod racing. I think it's great. It's space IndyCar. It's
I like
beautiful.
the pod racing besides the dialogue.
See,
Like-
I actually have Revenge of the Sith as number 11.
Whoa, that is
ROTS at 11?
I honestly I cannot
Oh.
stand any of the prequel movies. I haven't seen them in a while, and probably rewatching them might change my opinion. But this is my take. Phantom Menace had its bad moments, but there was parts of it that I liked, and I can forgive a bad child actor. When the character being portrayed grows up and they are no better, either as a character or as an actor, I can't tell it was that bad, then there's less to forgive. Somebody screwed that up. And Anakin could have been such a deep and meaningful character, and they botched it big time. Now,
I'm just
I
shocked
will
that you
agree
have
that the whole
this-
end fight and the meaningful, and like, for the trilogy, the only really significant part of it is what can I think? Kenobi. Obi-Wan. He makes those movies better.
Ewan McGregor. Love him.
Ewan McGregor was amazing, and that end scene, the fight scene at the very end where he defeats Anakin, is again heartrending, and that's something I really find important. But I think it was one failure after another, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm just surprised because I feel that of the prequels, that one is the strongest.
Yeah, Phantom Menace, I think, is by far the. Maybe you can argue Attack of the Clones is equally as bad because you get that where you talk about the character grows up and there's still no development, but
So, you're getting into mine, actually. My number 11.
As ATOC?
Chase, you agreed with Josh, right?
I said Phantom
Yeah,
Menace, yeah.
It sounds like we've all got prequel as our number 11, but mine is Attack of the Clones because of the acting. There
not great.
is the only good part about that movie.
Ewan McGregor.
Ewan McGregor and Ian McDiarmid.
Mm.
They are fun to watch.
Okay.
You know, Emperor Palpatine is an amazing character, played very
Chancellor.
campy. It's fun.
He's Chancellor.
At that point, Chancellor, yes.
Mhm.
But Hayden Christensen kind of got ruined by his role.
Yeah, I mean, I think it
he was-
destroyed him. And like I said, I can't say whether or not it was just bad acting on his part or poor
I think
direction.
it's bad
It's
writing
actually technically
mixed
both.
with inexperience.
That's what I was going to say. He was a new actor. He didn't have that innate understanding. Like you see that with the way Ewan McGregor does his role. He does it well because he is a talented actor with a lot of experience, and he knew what to do to make his role good. Anakin's actor did not have that experience to bring to the table.
And
so
it led to so many awkward scenes where you're just thinking, okay, so Padme is like, she looks like 25 maybe in Phantom Menace, and Anakin looks like 6. What the heck is going on with that relationship?
I would have said
mean,
she looks more like
she-
50 and not 25, but
I mean,
I'm-
she is
I'm
supposed to be a
sorry.
lot younger than she appears. That's
I think she's supposed to be
like-
13, right?
I
She's
think
13
I
and
think
he's-
she's like 16 or something like that.
I think she's
think
not.
She's a bit older than
She
him.
might be 15. I don't think she's quite 16, and he's supposed to be like 9.
Yeah.
I'm exaggerating the
Yeah,
numbers.
yeah. It's
Definitely.
But
no,
she
it's
does
true.
look like she's in
But-
her 20s, and probably
does-
the actress was.
I think so. I think just like it felt wrong, and every scene between
Yes.
Hayden Christensen and
Was cringe.
why can't
Are
I think
you
of,
an angel?
yeah, but that was
That was
fantastic.
in Phantom Menace. The
Like
problem
that
is,
was
I
cute.
can't. I mean, there was no.
Well,
there
that's-
was
that's
no
the
Jar Jar in
thing.
Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith, so automatically it's not as bad as.
I mean,
Okay,
that's the thing, right? Is like you kind of set that aside and like it's a little cute because it's like a kid hitting on a adult dish, and you know the age discrepancy is there, and so you kind of like push it aside even though it's cringy, but the cringe doesn't go away.
No, it
He
gets
gets older.
Episode 2.
And it gets worse.
I think that now that we're talking about it, I want to move Attack of the Clones down. I don't think I'll replace it with Phantom Menace, but the dialogue is terrible in that movie. I hate
If-
sand.
if-
It's coarse and it's rough. It's irritating and it gets everywhere. And Padme's like, "Yes, this is the man. I want him."
I love the meme. Did you ever see the meme that Eric Stelmach shared, where it was SWOTOR, and it was like flirt option. I hate sand.
Yes.
It's rough and it gets everywhere.
Yep. Yes. No,
Oh,
that
goodness.
entire movie was not ideal. But
So
I'm sorry,
let's keep going.
That
We
whole
gotta keep
trilogy
going.
was bad, and
We're
it just
gonna be
got
here till
worse.
midnight.
we will be here till
Yeah.
midnight regardless, Josh.
Oh, definitely.
10. I have Last Jedi. Finally, I was willing to put Last Jedi in 10.
I could see that placement.
I have Rise
I-
of Skywalker at 10.
I have to admit something. After Joe's argument for the Rise of Skywalker, I pushed it down on. You're right. It was disappointing in every way imaginable, and it had no redeeming features. I wanted to
Palpatine
put
was fun to watch again, but it's like, why is he here?
but yeah, why? Why?
Somehow Palpatine returned. Like, what?
Oh no!
And
There
it
are
wasn't.
no plot
And
development.
it wouldn't have been that big a deal if they could have properly explained it, but they didn't bother.
Mm-hmm.
It was just it
They
just
didn't have
happened.
time. They would have had they made that movie like 8 hours long to get like everything in they needed to fix.
Mhm.
I heard that
Jedi.
they're planning on making like a new cut of Last
I
Jedi
heard-
and Rise of
heard that too.
Skywalker, which
I
is
heard
supposed to
that
be
they
longer
were-
and include more deleted scenes.
I heard that they were retconning the whole thing. That they were just
There were
Oh,
there
ignoring
are
it.
still rumors. I don't think they ever will retcon it. I think they should.
Yeah.
I think they should too.
I think that we should get some of the Legends stories. Why not? I mean, it's unfortunate that Mark Hamill is older now and we can't get some of the like still young
Yeah.
Luke stories,
Well,
which is
I mean,
most of what Legends was.
Sorry, but Mandalorian, that was Luke. That was Mark Hamill.
They're not gonna.
It-
That was
it
a
wasn't
fun.
perfect.
That's a fun
Sebastian
cameo. They're not.
Stan.
I would love this. I would love all of that, but I don't think that they would do it for a movie or a trilogy. Even
No,
I think
probably
as a
not.
fun cameo, it
And
was
I
great. But
think Luke has probably antagonized too many people at Disney at this point because he has been very outspoken against what they did to his character.
oh, Mark Hamill. Yeah, this is not my Luke Skywalker. Yeah.
Yeah, that I don't think they want to touch him now, and it's unfortunate because I think the best person to portray Luke is Mark Hamill. He's an
Mark
excellent actor,
Yeah.
and no one knows Luke Skywalker more than he does.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I think he gets a pass just because of how popular he is
Mhm.
for Disney. Is
Yeah.
like he can say all the bad things he wants. Just like nicely tell him like, hey, can you chill?
Yeah. I mean,
Because they don't want to get on his bed.
it's interesting to think about because if you think about Harrison Ford didn't even want to do Episode 5. Like he
He was
wanted.
happy when they found out they were killing him off.
Yeah, he wanted George Lucas to kill him in Episode 5. He's like, no, going into the carbonite should kill me. Like, my character needs to go away. And then he brings him back and he's upset. And then you find out he's cast for Episode 7 and you're like, how did they manage this? Because he's been so outspoken about the fact that he does not want anything to do with Star Wars. So,
Money. Big enough paycheck,
Agreed.
anyone.
mind tricks
So
don't
did
work
you-
on me. Only
so
money.
We're saying Rise of Skywalker for 10.
Yeah,
I'm going RS, yeah.
unfortunately, I think it was just such a bad hit to the name of Star Wars.
And they
that you
killed
can't-
off the best character.
What about you, Chase? Did you give us a 10?
Yeah, it's Rise of Skywalker.
Okay. And Joa, you said
I haven't yet.
Oh, okay.
For me, this is where the Clone Wars animated film goes.
okay.
I see
Not
you
bad.
writing it down.
Yep.
9. Attack of the Clones for me.
Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones.
Wow, I'm the only different one. I put my Attack of the Clones lower, but for me, Force Awakens.
Force Awakens.
I'm starting
wow.
to get concerned Joa.
We still have Phantom Menace.
And the
floating
reason I'm
around in there
yeah,
for him.
that's what I'm saying. Is Phantom Menace is way too high on your list.
Number one.
No,
Were
I
you
have
like
some
a
arguments for
Jar Jar fanboy?
I
Doesn't
have
know.
some arguments for Phantom Menace. We'll get to them.
Okay.
I mean, I could have had Phantom Menace higher if we did get Jar Jar the Sith.
Darth
We
Jar
didn't
Jar,
get
yeah.
Jar Jar. So
you'll notice though that I placed The Last Jedi above above Force Awakens because I thought Force Awakens was just a worse rehash of A New Hope with Mary Sue as the main protagonist.
Rey annoyed me.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm fine with Daisy Ridley as the actor, but the way
Actress.
they wrote that character, actress, yes, the way they wrote that character was kind of bad. I think the idea of like Finn was great. I liked Poe as a character. I liked BB-8 even. I don't really care that BB-8 was an R2 clone. He was adorable.
He was
and he had
built
some
Yeah,
really
he
funny
was.
moments.
I do. I mean, it was awesome when he was driving the bottom half of an AT-AT in one of those.
Oh yeah,
movies.
that was fun. That was
really good.
But for me, the only good thing, the only like cool scene that I really remember coming out of that movie was Kylo Ren killing Han Solo and Chewie getting mad and shooting Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Like that was fun.
That was a good
copy paste.
I think I had a problem with that scene. Like, it was deep and meaningful, but it was a little too hammy, in my opinion.
I'll talk
I
about
thought it was
TFA more when I get to it on my list, but yeah.
It's like, there's a part of me that's like, Han Solo has been around lightsabers long enough to know you don't have the open end facing.
Well, it's entirely his intent.
I suppose. Yeah, he was giving him a chance
it was his intent to let his kid choose.
Yep.
So I liked it, but it wasn't. It was a fun watch, I guess, but it was just too much of a copy paste for me.
So we're on to number 8.
We are on to number 8.
This is where I have Rise of Skywalker.
That's really high.
That's a high placement.
Here's the thing.
Like when I was watching Rise of Skywalker, I wasn't entertained. I wasn't like, oh, I hate this every minute.
Yeah.
It wasn't until later when I left and really sat down and thought about it and saw it a couple more times that I was starting to find like, yeah, I mean, there's definitely things, but I feel like it was because it tried to do too much. Because Last Jedi didn't do enough.
I found a lot of that entertaining as well, but it was the same thing. When I got home and I came down from the cinematic spectacle, and being a graphic artist and like a very visual person, I like being wowed by pretty graphics. And so that does affect my initial opinion sometimes. And I thought it was a beautiful movie, very well done. But once I wound down from the excitement and the energy of the movie, I was like, there were so many holes in that.
So, there were, and I think one of the things I hated the most is one of my favorite scenes from The Last Jedi is the Luke Skywalker scene at the end, where he's talking to Kylo Ren via Skype, and he says, "You're wrong. The rebellion is not dead, and I will not be the last of the Jedi." Luke was the last Jedi. Absolutely. And if you want to argue that Rey is a Jedi, I will have words with you. Those words being a sledgehammer and your face. She is Rey is 100% a Sith or a dark Jedi.
I'm sorry. There is one flaw with your argument.
Sledgehammers are pretty solid, Luke.
No. Ahsoka Tano.
But she might be dead.
She's not a Jedi.
She was trained a Jedi.
Ahsoka is 100% not a Jedi, and she has said several times, especially if you watch Rebels, Luke, she says in there, "I am not a Jedi."
Well, okay.
So, she's renounced the Jedi ways. She is a gray Jedi. She doesn't obey or follow a Jedi council, but she is still a good person who uses the light side of the Force. Rey turns into the dark side of the Force pretty heavy. So...
I mean, that's what happens when you are not trained to be as
Yeah.
a Jedi. It's the idea is that you are trained to control your powers so that you don't kill everyone, and she nearly killed people several times.
She
Luke's
nearly
version
killed.
of training
She
is
basically
just
would
feather
have been.
duster to your hand.
Yeah, she basically would have killed Chewbacca had that scene played out the way that everybody thought it would. Like,
Yeah, that was pure luck that Chewbacca wasn't killed there.
and she would have killed him. She is most certainly a Sith or a Dark Jedi. But
She can't be a Sith because you'd have to be trained as a Sith. She's a Dark Jedi.
okay, Dark Jedi, but she is not a member of the Jedi Order. She will never be a Jedi Knight. So therefore she will not be
There
a Jedi,
there
and
is-
Luke would be the last Jedi.
There is no way for her to become because the teachings were destroyed in the tree.
No,
There's
she
no one
actually
to
took
teach-
those. She took those before the.
Oh
treaty.
no,
She has
they
the
were in
books.
the
Yeah,
they
she
were
has
in
the
the
books.
ship. Yeah,
I guess my argument could be
that she might become one.
no.
if she
Cal
actually-
Kestis is a member of the Jedi Order, and I think he's it because I don't think Ezra. He was trained in the Jedi ways by a Jedi, but he never became a knight because there was no Jedi Order. So I'm gonna argue Cal Kestis is the last Jedi.
Well, they do start their own order.
So do we,
Luke starts an order.
Oh
yes,
no,
but
actually, sorry. I'm going to argue against that one more time. As it's
Sledgehammer
written, I don't think Luke could be counted as a Jedi because his behavior is contrary to the Jedi way. As they wrote him, 'Cause
Yes.
he
Jedi
was
were
being
fair.
cowardly
Jedi.
and foolish
yes.
at the end of that, and he did not stand for what the
Well,
Jedi.
and he was
stood
fearful of Kylo Ren. He was fearful of Ben Solo and was going to
yeah,
kill him. So
striking down a child that he was
an innocent,
he was-
unarmed child because of your own fear.
That's absolutely not.
Yeah.
I mean, besides the clear argument that that's not Luke Skywalker in any way whatsoever, if he did that, he is no longer a Jedi. He would not be able to say that with a straight face.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Okay.
Who said their number? What are we on?
8.
8.
We started. I
haven't
think we
even got
started
Luke
with. My 8 was Clone Wars, the animated show or movie,
Okay.
rather, and that's
Mine-
basically the only reason it gets put that high is because of Ahsoka. She's a terrible character in that movie, but becomes my all-time favorite Star Wars character. So that gets carried pretty hard from that.
My number 8 is The Last Jedi. This is where I put it. I still stand by my thought process here, where if 9 hadn't just dumped all of the plot from 8, then the
8 could have been a better movie.
sequels entirely could have been better.
But
But
that's the idea. That's what they failed at, right? Because that formula was you have the trilogy, and the middle one is only good because it bridges the two. And if it doesn't
And the
do
last
that,
one
then it can't
ignored-
be good.
The last one ignored 8
Mhm.
as a movie. If the last one was a different movie, the entire trilogy would have been brought up.
Yep. Absolutely. I agree with that.
That's my statement for that.
My number 8 was The Phantom Menace.
Yeah,
I could agree with that
It's-
placement.
it's a better placement than Joa's.
Mhm.
We haven't even gotten Joa's yet. So number 7, I have Solo.
I have Force Awakens.
Last Jedi.
Jedi.
Phantom Menace.
Oh, there you
we
go.
finally
Okay.
got it.
We finally hit Phantom Menace. I will agree it's
Getting
not a good
really
movie.
nervous.
I'll agree it's not a good movie, but I will say it's much, much better than Attack of the Clones. Even
Yep.
though Attack of the Clones brought us the Clone Wars series, which was amazing. That's the
I'm
only good thing
surprised
that came out of the movie.
Of this whole entire group, I had Solo the lowest.
Yes.
Because
I'm
I
gonna
really
make
like Solo, but I mean it's really getting to where it's hard.
I'm going to make a comment after this next one, and then I'm also gonna, I'm gonna get into that.
Okay.
Okay. So number 6, I have Revenge of the Sith. So that's the last.
Little
one.
low for me, but okay.
It's pretty
Well,
low.
you know why? There's a reason why it's there.
It's not as low as Luke's.
It's because of that stupid scene with the engorged tick on the green grass where he's
Oh.
surfing on top of it.
That was in 2.
That was
No,
episode.
was
That was episode
in-
That
2.
was in 2.
That was
Was
episode
it
2.
sure?
That's Attack of the Clones.
That was
That's
in
when they're
2.
on
That was
Naboo.
the episode that they
I
get
think
married on,
you
isn't it?
Yeah,
And then
they get married in
Yeah,
episode
married in
2.
two.
They're married in 2. Yeah.
And in
Episode 3, he gets back from the battle of. Episode 3, he gets back from the Battle of Coruscant and finds out she's pregnant. They
Well,
never go to
some
Naboo.
Okay, well that makes I should have put Attack of the Clones lower then because that scene
Yeah.
drives me crazy. But
Why
yeah,
are you riding on a tick?
Yeah. Oh, I hate that scene.
All right,
But anyways, Revenge of the Sith 6.
my number 6 is going to be Solo. I feel really bad for Solo. I think that it flopped out of the gate because of the failure of The Last Jedi. And I think people wrote off Star Wars because of it. I have my issues with the movie. Han Solo's not the character he's supposed to be. There are some weird plot things. But I still enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I thought it did maybe a little bit too much fan service, but the fan service was good.
What about you, Luke?
The Force Awakens.
Force Awakens?
And I'm going to say right now that there is a buffer between this and everything above it. As far as I'm concerned,
Because this is like that, like
I could stick Jupiter between these two movies. Hi.
So this is actually where I put the first movie of this entire conversation of the original trilogy. This is where I put A New Hope
Them's fighting
At
words.
6?
at 6.
Whew.
Wow.
Whew.
It's not that I don't like A New Hope. I think A New Hope is such a classic. I don't think it could be rated any lower, certainly. There is definitely a gap between A New Hope and Phantom Menace. Sort of like what Luke was saying between, put Jupiter between Phantom Menace and A New Hope. But I think when it comes to A New Hope, it does have, like, visually, like, choreographically, it's not that interesting, but the story is fun. It's a classic, really. But to me, it's like an old, Disney animated film. Like, it's like, this is a story that you've seen 100 million times that you're not going to forget. But you've also, like, I don't find myself, like, excited to watch it as I am other movies, in the series.
Then you're wrong.
I would say, like, I'm saying this, it's a good starting point. It's a great launching point for the series. And I adore this movie. But the rest of the movies on my list are high up.
Wow.
I'm
I'm sad to see that movie so low.
It's-
It saddens me. Because
It's
it
not
was like the
close.
movie that started it all for me.
You cut me, Joa. You cut me deep.
I'm sorry.
I think number 6 is a bad place.
I-
But hey, that's one of the reasons
Hey,
that I
wait.
thought it'd be fun to have 4 of us on
Yeah.
your day is because we would all have very different ideas and very different opinions. So as wrong as
I
Joe
only
is,
put
we
it-
have to let him live with it.
Yeah.
I only put A New Hope here because the story doesn't really interest me as the ones above it.
Mhm.
Because it's just it's a very fairy tale story. That's it for me. I'm a sucker for story.
All right, so we're
Luke,
on number
wait,
5.
hold on. What was Luke's number 6?
The Force
Oh,
Awakens.
TFA. Yeah. Sorry.
It's
I'm
kind of
just-
funny
I'm
that
slow.
Force Awakens ties with A New Hope for me and Luke.
So my number 5 is Force Awakens. I actually liked Force Awakens. I know that that may not be a very popular opinion, but I liked where they were going with it. Everything fell apart after.
I agree. Like I said before, I thought it was a great idea to tell people, after 1, 2, and 3, like, we can actually do this, and to show you we're going to follow the formula of the first one, 4, A New Hope, and it's just going to be better. And it was in a way. But it also kind of hurt it that it was just a copy, essentially.
Yeah.
So my number 5 is going to be. So I think this is where my huge gap comes in between number 6 and number 5, is Rogue One. Rogue One is a really good movie. I think it is the best standalone Star Wars movie in terms of being a story, because
100%.
all of your characters are introduced and all your characters go away. You don't have to deal with loose ends or anything like that. You have one of the coolest scenes in Star Wars of Darth Vader chopping his way through a hallway. Like,
that
great
wasn't my
scene.
favorite.
That
wasn't
my one issue with that scene is that you immediately from there hop over, no more than 3 hours later, and he is a slow old man in a hallway that can barely keep up with Obi-Wan.
His batteries started to drain.
Yeah,
he'd been more than he left his battery packs at home.
Yeah, I understand. The issue is you're going back in time, so the choreography isn't great. If you watch Scene 38 Reimagined, I love Scene 38 Reimagined. The guy who did that on YouTube, beautiful work. That's what that fight should have been.
That video if you haven't.
I will watch that.
Yeah, look up Scene 38 Reimagined, and
artists, you'll love it.
Yeah, it's super well done, very high quality for being a fan film. But literally, it just redoes the Obi-Wan Darth Vader fight, and it fits in much better with Rogue One Darth Vader.
If somebody made a cut of A New Hope, where they edited that into the movie, it would be bumped up to 5 for me.
Yeah. I feel like when you're watching that with anyone that hasn't seen Star Wars, you should pause and be like, let's watch this now, and then just go back and fast forward.
No, wait. You have video editing software. Just make your own special cut.
True.
That's true, you can, yeah.
This is awesome. We have the technology.
I just got to point out that Logan in our chat has never seen episode 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Shame.
Once
you
COVID.
You can skip 2.
I was gonna say once COVID is over, I'll drive up to Maine and force him to watch them.
Let me
I'll
know.
I'll pick up Luke on the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll come with, and we could just watch that trilogy over again.
I
have to catch back.
We'll just binge Star Wars that weekend.
That works.
Yeah. We got 12 movies, 3 TV series.
No, honestly, if that's something you guys wanted to do, I have a guest bedroom. We could throw out some cots.
There you go.
Halfway at my place.
Nice.
I would not say no to spending a weekend watching Star Wars.
Yes, and we've got because we have to do it chronologically. So
as soon as COVID's over, we got a plan.
Yep.
Did
you ever
get your 5, Joa?
I haven't done my 5 yet. Okay. This is where I put Solo.
Okay.
So it might sound strange that I put Solo above A New Hope. But I find the characters interesting.
Yes, definitely.
I like the direction they went with this, where it's like, this is a seedy underworld movie. Like, none of the characters are like exactly good guys here. Yeah. And I do like my villains quite
Han
a bit.
Solo was too much of a good guy is my one issue with the movie.
I agree with that.
I can agree
Han Solo
with
is
that.
too much of a good guy in this movie. But at the same time, I think that was on purpose. I don't think they wanted to paint him as like a bad guy.
Yeah.
In this movie, I don't think they wanted to paint him as a criminal. He walks the light side.
They couldn't. Well, I mean, that's the thing is it does go contrary, and it kind of takes a little bit away from Han Solo's essentially his development in Episode 4, because he's in it all for the money in 4, right? Yes. Yeah. And he turns around and he stands with the good, and when he's already good to begin with, it kind of cuts.
I think this movie would have been better if Han Solo fell a little bit more. Like if he started out more optimistic, and then
that would have been a good idea.
Kind of went like depressed.
I think
or something.
he started out fairly optimistic, and then I think that you did see a bit of a change when he joined the Imperial Academy and lost Kira. But then I think I liked how they he kind of went through that dip and came back up once he met her again. But I think that once she left, he needed to have a harder dip.
And I love how they did the Kessel Run and explained away George Lucas's.
That's one of the small fan service things.
Yeah.
One of the small fan service things I liked. One of the small fan service things I didn't like is the fact that he felt the need to explain why he calls him Chewie and not Chewbacca. that one was a little pointless.
I'm
mean,
gonna
Also,
say one of my problems
why
with
does
that
this random
was-
orphan from Corellia speak Shriwook?
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean,
he might have met a Wookiee before.
Not
the
on
biggest
Corellia.
problem that I had with Solo was the fact that every single thing, fan service thing about Solo happened in like a 2-week time segment.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it all happened here, and like he had all this growing to do before he actually got to episode 4. It's
Yeah.
like, where did why is this all happening in like a
Yes.
a week? It's weird.
I think they were hoping that this movie would blow up a little more than it did because it's The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they were probably planning for it to have a sequel.
They were, I think, initially, and I hope they still do it. Make
I
Solo
do
happen.
My issue is I don't want a Solo sequel at this point. I want a Crimson Dawn story. I want something with Maul and Kira. I don't think that Han should really be in it, but I'm fine if Han ends up being part of the Lando TV show that we get, but
I forgot we were getting a Lando TV show.
Mhm.
We are getting a Lando TV show
I'm excited for that.
for Disney Plus.
So I should probably put out here right now that Solo is number 5 for me as well. Well, I
good.
also want to point out that it's probably as high as it is on my list, and I really did enjoy it because I actually didn't see it when it came out. I was a little leery of it because of The Last Jedi, and I was hearing a lot of negative reports. So it was a while before I watched it, and what I ended up doing is dialing back my suspension of disbelief. I went in understanding this could be a terrible movie, so it actually exceeded my expectations.
Mhm.
And so I was pretty happy with it, and I was able to set aside the overly wrought geek side of my personality and just let it go, and that helped.
I think this is a good thing to say. If you were some reason watching this podcast and have not seen Solo, go watch it because clearly we all really appreciate the movie. It's rated, on average, 6th on our lists out of all 12 Star Wars movies. So
Yeah, and I think a lot of the negativity came from, like you said, The Force Awakens. It did a lot of damage.
I think it's technically like
Force Awakens, Last
5.75 or
Jedi.
something, but I can't math.
Yeah.
All right, so on the number 4, top 4. This is really getting to the nitty gritty. All these movies are good.
Mhm.
All these movies are some of my favorites. I have Rogue One.
Rogue One.
ROTS.
ROTS.
Wow.
Wow. You guys have
So-
that way up there.
Here's the thing: is Joa and I are younger, so this is the Star Wars we grew up with. We didn't
Yeah,
grow
Luke,
up
are you
with the.
closer to my age?
Yeah, I think I am. Pretty close
So-
to your age. What? No, I'm
Revenge
not
of the
30.
Sith.
Huh?
I am 37.
Oh, I'm 38. So we're like the same age.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so
You old
for
people.
so for us it literally was we grew up with these because they were coming out when we were little kids, and I know for a fact that those movies actually scared me the first time I saw them because I was so young and my parents were such big fans of them.
I used to have to
But that-
cover my eyes when the tauntaun got cut open. Like,
It was
Yeah.
it was the Rancor for me that I
Okay,
had
yeah,
trouble
yeah.
with.
Yep.
mhm.
Fair.
I got scared
But-
of the Lego Rancor in the saga. I would literally run around the house screaming.
I've always been easily scared. I have a very vivid imagination, and it would really backfire on me. But so we grew up with those, and we developed a deep, passionate love for them. And then we had over a decade, probably 2. How long was it? 20 years? Maybe
Before-
more.
So the last Star Wars movie came out in '83 for the original trilogy, and then
Yeah, so over 20 years.
'99 was that when?
Oh no,
Menace
you're
came out,
right.
or
No,
Phantom
so
Menace?
10
I think-
years.
yeah, I think
10
Phantom
years.
Menace was 99 or something.
I can't
So
believe
I
it was
mean,
that.
me and you didn't see the original trilogy at the theater, but we were. I mean, I saw it when I was, a kid.
Yeah,
And they
well, my parents got them as soon as they came out on tape, and,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much when I saw them.
Cassette tapes, let's go.
And
So
and I'll be honest, the first time I watched them, I was so young I didn't actually like them.
Yeah.
But then the second time when I got a little older, I really appreciated them. And I had all this time to just stew in 4, 5, and 6 and love them for the works of
yeah.
art that they were.
For me, I don't remember my first time watching any of the original trilogy. I think the only one that I remember my first time watching is Revenge of the Sith, because my mother like forcibly held a blanket over my eyes while the younglings were being killed, or during the the final scene with Obi-Wan's monologue.
Uh-huh.
But I remember watching that movie, and when I go back and rewatch Star Wars movies, of the ones that I'm watching, it's the original trilogy and it's Revenge of the Sith, because it's such a huge story point, and Ewan McGregor's character Obi-Wan, like everything that he has.
Did we just lose Chase?
What?
He's here.
Okay,
here.
maybe I got lost.
Maybe you
I
got
think
lost.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor is such a good actor, and that character goes through so much. Everything that he has, he loses. He has the Jedi Order. His brothers and sisters are all killed by clones. His best friend, Cody, who he's been serving in a war with, turns and tries to kill him. His brother, his apprentice, turns to the dark side. He loses the Republic. Like, all these bad things happen to him. And he says, I know what my duty is. I will protect this kid. I don't know. It's really well done. And I think that Ewan McGregor does a good job of conveying the emotions of Episode 3 and why it's so big to Star Wars.
It's
If
definitely my
there's-
favorite of the prequels.
Definitely.
if
I want
there's
to say
any-
real quick. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
No,
Luke.
go ahead.
If you don't like this movie, I can recommend a video by a channel on YouTube, Cinema Wins. Watch the Cinema Wins episode on Revenge of the Sith. He brings up a lot of good points. It might not change your mind completely, but it will at least bring out a few good things. Especially how like self-coherent the movie is. Like a lot of foreshadowing, a lot of it's very good. It's very dramatic storytelling. I appreciate storytelling, as I've already mentioned. I think the acting could have been done better.
Absolutely.
It's not without its flaws.
No.
But overall, this movie was a big part of my childhood.
Same.
So did you give us your number 4?
I think we all did.
Okay.
It was
What'd you say, Joe?
Joe and I had the same RTS.
Okay. So me and Luke had the same, and you guys had the same. Okay.
Yep.
Now we're on to number 3. I have A New Hope.
I have Empire Strikes Back.
I have Empire Strikes Back.
I have Return of the Jedi.
How could you?
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, we're getting down to the real nitty.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Most of us just have
the
original-
top 3 were so hard to put in order for me.
Yeah, me too.
Not for me. It's something I've actually thought of for a very long time.
I'm with Luke here. I've had this list in my mind for a while.
So I'm the only one that has Return of the Jet. I mean, New Hope at 3. You guys had Empire. Chase and Luke both had Empire.
Yep.
And you had Return, Joe. Okay.
And
So then it brings us to number 2. We're getting down here.
Return of the Jedi.
I had Return of the Jedi.
A New Hope.
Empire Strikes Back. Sounds like
So-
we've got a lot of the original
It's-
trilogies up here.
Yeah, who would have thought that the best Star Wars is Star Wars?
So now it's our number 1.
Mine.
Da-da-da. We have gotten to number 1 before we hit the 1 hour mark. That's amazing.
That's impressive.
Surprising.
I think it's because after we kind of talked about all of the episodes, like we had them in different
Yeah, I
orders,
know.
but each one had to be talked about. But now we're all kind of on like the same page. I've got A New Hope, the place that started it all.
I have Empire.
Return of the Jedi.
I have
So-
Rogue One here.
That's
Whoa!
bold. That is bold,
That
my
is
man.
big.
You have wait. I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
I have Rogue One as my favorite Star Wars movie of all time.
It is. It's a good movie. I'm not gonna ever.
I want to
Take that away,
argue
but-
with you, but I don't think I can because I. Really
I want
did
to. I
like
want to hear
Rogue
your
One.
argument. I want to hear your argument, real quick.
I don't know.
My
that I can
argument
put it at number
against
one.
it.
Yeah. Well, why would you say
Okay,
Yeah,
I was
that
actually going to talk more about Rogue One, but I like the way things panned out. Rogue One, to me, I thought was really good, and probably one of the few things keeping it up at the top of this list is my nostalgic love for the original trilogy. Like I said, I steeped in this for over a decade. I love it so much because it's like being a super geek. It was one of the things that I just always enjoyed, and it is one of the fundamental science fiction series. Period. So
I'm
I
assuming
had
that
it.
Logan's comment is towards Joa, by the way. So, Joa, you've been disowned.
Oh no.
Sorry,
Um,
Luke, to cut you off.
That being said, I think Rogue One is one of the most poignant, powerful, and meaningful movies in sci-fi. Period. It can't hold a candle to Star Wars because very little can. And I am a hardcore Trekkie, and I say that.
So, one of the things I liked about Rogue One is there's a lot of people, trying to get like these strong, powerful females in these roles to set the example. And Rey was just stupid, overpowered, and completely pointless and a bad character. Jin was awesome. Jin was
Absolutely.
very cool, had a lot of conflict, wasn't overpowered by any means, lost a lot and gave a lot. I think that her character, I think aside from maybe Cassian, all of the characters in that were super well written. I think Cassian's my
One of the
one,
things.
but
One of the things that I absolutely loved about this is there's a certain, I think it's Japanese, it's a Japanese tragedy. That idea that no one gets out alive. That it is a true tragedy and a loss. And they went into this, they tell you what's going to happen. You know how the story is going to end. And they still went, and they did it, and there's no magical survival. They all die.
so
I think that's not the thing I like best about this movie. I think the characters are fun to watch interact with each other.
Agree.
K2SO,
best character.
best
So
character.
awesome.
Alan Tudyk knocks it out of the park as
Absolutely.
always.
Yeah.
As always.
Alan Tudyk, best voice actor, one of my favorite voice actors of all time. Right alongside D. Bradley Baker.
There you go. I was
Those-
gonna say you
those
better
my
have
two-
him. Yep.
Those are my two favorite voice actors of all time.
Okay, I gotta
Um,
look up who D. Bradley Baker.
He is
He
everybody
He's done
basically.
a lot of voice acting in the Clone Wars and Rebels.
He is
he's
every
the
clone.
clones.
Yeah.
Didn't he just die recently?
No,
I
yeah,
sure
he-
hope
Here?
not.
I sure hope not. Yeah.
No, I thought I heard something about the guy who played.
Oh.
Maybe I'm getting him.
Oh, no,
confused with
no,
someone.
Maybe
I-
Commander. No, that wouldn't.
No,
No.
he's still alive.
Thank
Okay, good.
goodness.
Thank you. Thank
Whew.
goodness.
Yeah, he's still
If you've ever heard like a
Sorry.
small rodent, if you've ever heard like a small rodent on a cartoon show, it's probably D. Bradley Baker.
Like Perry the Platypus.
Is
Okay,
Perry the
all right.
D.
Terry
Bradley Baker?
the platypus.
Perry the Platypus is D.
Um,
Bradley Baker.
The hamsters in Codename Kids Next Door. If you haven't seen that, watch
Wait,
it.
that's D. Bradley Baker?
That's D. Bradley Baker. Same as number 4.
I think
Number
I
4 is
might
D.
have
Bradley
known
Baker.
that one, but I did not know the hamsters.
I know he's done some like voice acting for video games as well.
He's
Another
done a lot.
hamster.
He has
Another
quite a
hamster.
resume.
He's got a huge resume. He's
He's
amazing.
almost as big as Steve
And-
Bloom.
And just the fact that, we get introduced to so many unique clones in the Clone Wars, and they're
He
all
does the
different.
Unique voice for all of
And
them.
no matter what, even if he hasn't done that voice in a year, he can replicate that clone. Like,
That's impressive.
yeah, like you don't see Jesse or Kix that often, but when you do, you know it's Jesse or Kix. Like,
Yeah.
Just by the voice,
yeah.
it's amazing.
And Rex and Cody are definitely different, and you get, ones in there like Gregor, who's a bit crazy, but like he gives them their personality, considering the fact that it's an animated show, so most of the personality has to come through in your voice acting. So, and especially with clones, they're behind masks so often too, where you don't actually see any animated facial expressions. We're way off topic. I'm just talking about my love for D. Bradley Baker now, but yeah.
But aside from that, all the characters in Rogue One are convincing. They all have some sort of character flaw. I'd say even Cassian is a good character.
Yeah.
I do think he's probably the weakest of the entire movie.
I'm
Of
hoping the
cast.
Cassian show kind of undoes that.
But at the
But-
same time, his entire point was that he is of, rebel.
Mhm.
Like, he is a bit of an extremist. He will do anything for the for taking down the Empire. He will kill his fellow rebels so that there's one less mouth that can, be interrogated.
Yep.
Like,
Spare them the torture.
Technically, yeah, he probably did that guy a favor. Like,
Yeah,
if you're
no
honest.
kidding.
But
I
Um,
wanted to also mention my favorite scene out of that movie. By the way, I remember back in the day when I was a kid playing X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, and there's one of the
loved playing those games,
cutscenes
yeah.
where they have a Corellian Corvette blockade runner, and they use it to run through the bridge section of like 20 Star Destroyers, not Super Star Destroyers, and then so they drop off on the shuttle, and they see it blast through all these Star Destroyers in a row, and then they rejoin up with the ship, and then they go back to warp. And
they reference
and they
that.
used
The hammerhead.
they used the Hammerhead, which is a
Yeah.
modified version, and it was actually in X-Wing versus TIE Fighter as a ship that you could call in, and they used it to slice one Star Destroyer in half with another, and it was absolutely amazing. That's
Yeah,
by
Oh,
far
they
my
brought
favorite.
down the shield, right? Because they
Yep.
sent it right into the shield thing and
They did, yes.
knocked the shield out for the whole
Rogue
planet.
One to me is a love letter to Star Wars.
mhm.
It
Like,
is.
not just the original trilogy, not just the Clone Wars. It's a love letter to all of the books, even the Legends material. They reference
Stardust.
Stardust. They reference KOTOR with the. I think the Hammerhead Corvette is from KOTOR and TIE Fighter, as you mentioned. Like,
Mhm.
so many little details. Even like Rebels, the ghost appears.
Yep, you do
for
see the
Rebels.
ghost. Yep.
And you see
Chopper.
Chopper.
Yeah.
You see Chopper on screen. You hear over the intercom General Syndulla, Hera.
Yeah.
Like, it's a love letter to all
Yeah.
of Star Wars fans. It's probably the one movie that unites all of Star Wars.
So, I have a question for you now. Rogue One gives us the Death Star plans. Are we going to see Rogue 2, where many Bothans die, to bring us the information on Death Star 2?
I want to see.
I want to see a
I
Bothan.
know.
Come on.
I think that it's not many Bothans. I think it's Manny Bothans.
Manny Bothans.
He died to bring us the Death Star plans.
Poor
Manny
Manny.
Manny Bothans
He was such
died.
a misguided person, but he did his job.
I love
well.
one of my favorite memes that I've saved on my phone is Admiral Akbar in that scene, and they're like, many Bothans died to bring us this information. He's like, this is the last time I sent Bothans to do anything. I sent them to go get me I sent 4 of them to go get me a coffee. All dead.
They really have a knack for getting themselves killed.
Yeah. But no,
One of them spilled the coffee in his eyes.
I don't think we need a Rogue 2, but I think Rogue One, it wasn't a movie we needed, but it worked out so well in how everything came about that it fits in with, I think it's the best, I think it's the anthology that fits in best with Star Wars. Solo's a good movie, but I think that Rogue One is a Star Wars movie.
I think we have to be grateful for the good ones like Rogue One and like the Mandalorian series that are successful for making sure that we have people keep trying to produce good movies, because people might look at the new trilogy and go, it's not worth it to make Star Wars. You're just going to lose money. But you can always point to the Mandalorian, you can point to Rogue One and say, you can be successful doing this. You just have to
be
put
smart.
in. No, not even be smart. You have to put in the love.
Yep.
You have to have the passion for the series, or you won't understand it well enough to get it right.
So one of the reasons, we talked about this briefly, we have a video on the Andor sizzle that we got. I think that's one of the things that got me excited is the love that Diego Luna has for Star Wars comes across so heavy in that interview that I have to imagine that with how excited he is for that project, that it's going to be another really good show.
We can hope.
I wasn't initially excited for Endor, but just talking about it more, I'm getting more and more
Yeah.
excited. Especially
I
to
do.
see K2SO again.
No.
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 K2SO not going to be in it.
No.
Doesn't seem like it.
It's
Not in the
seeming
first
less.
season.
I know. Yeah, which is
Aw.
sad, but
No, the
Um,
last thing I heard was that Alan Tudyk has said that he's not in it. Whether or not he's not in
Yeah.
it right now is another question.
yeah.
Right.
So I
could
want to.
be non-disclosure.
Yeah, I want to swing and talk about why I have A New Hope here, because this is Star Wars. When you think of Star Wars and where it all came from, the only reason we are here is because of A New Hope and what George Lucas was able to do. Star Wars was like nothing. I'm going to use my dad's words exactly. It was like nothing else for its time. Nobody had done something like this. And I think that's kind of what sets up the success of the series, is that George Lucas went out and found somebody who was willing to produce a movie that nobody thought was going to be successful. He grabbed a bunch of nobody actors off the street, and they turned out to be amazing.
Harrison Ford was a carpenter. He was
Yeah.
working on sets, and
Yep.
he's like, "Come on, you're gonna be a dude in this
Like
movie."
I think they had him just in the script reading, like, hey, we need somebody to come read for this character while we do these, and they liked him, and they're like, you fit this Han Solo role perfectly. But he grabs Mark Hamill, he grabs Carrie Fisher, and they make a movie on a very small budget with very limited special effects, and it's just so iconic for all time, not just our time, for all time. And I think whether or not it is my favorite Star Wars movie to watch, I think I might have Return of the Jedi at number 1, but just because of what A New Hope meant and what it did is why I have it at number 1.
I have a big question for everybody here. If they remastered A New Hope, like,
They've done that, Joa.
I know
3
they've
times.
done that, but if they like,
Jabba used to be a human, Joa.
Sure,
You're a wonderful
No,
human being.
Actually, no,
they-
that's not true. Jabba never was a human being. It's always cut from the original series.
He was a human being.
So-
He was intended to be, but they removed the human part, from the series, and they threw in the thing that was never.
Han's
cut.
quote is literally, Jabba, you're a wonderful human being.
Yes, no, they had filmed that.
Mhm.
That section was there. They removed it,
Oh.
and they used.
Why not just...
They removed it from A New Hope. He never was in it. He was supposed to be, but they cut him. It was never a
Why
remake.
not just
that took him
refilm
out.
that scene, though?
so that's what I was about to get into.
Yeah.
If they refilmed A New Hope with, say, different actors,
Sebastian Stan.
and like Sebastian Stan in place of Luke, you know, who played Han Solo in Star Wars Story.
Oh, I don't know. He's too young, though.
He's too young, but if they like say ignored that fact, like
Digitally
If they
instant-
change the story where Han Solo is younger.
yeah,
I
like
don't
if they had to, like, if they remastered A New Hope,
Yeah, I don't
would
know.
you enjoy it as much? Would it be as special?
It has to.
It depends.
Mhm.
If you're saying remastered, which they've
Like
done
an
before.
HD remake.
So
If they
honestly-
remade it, it's a different matter, and it
Yeah.
ultimately depends on how much they consider a remake. If someone was to have the gall to rewrite it, make changes to the story, and stuff like that, they probably wouldn't survive a week. They'd be murdered.
I mean, let's say not changes to the story, but like choreography, like the Vader and Obi-Wan fight. We see
mean,
like the remastered
I would
scene.
like that. I don't think it'd be the same as the original.
It
I
wouldn't be the same
there's
as
a
the
lot
original,
of
and-
pushback against the remasters of Star Wars where they added
Yeah.
CG. And
Yeah.
and in my opinion, they did a great job doing that.
For the
'Cause
time, yeah, absolutely.
Joe, you probably have never seen the original cuts of Star Wars
I've
where
seen-
there are squares in space where the TIE fighters are flying through.
Yeah,
Because
watch.
their editing was so bad.
You can on YouTube. There's a lot of clips that do the scene by the side by side scene comparisons, and you can see, and it's
The original.
a
I know I've seen a
world's
few,
different. Like it's
I
It
know I've
is.
seen a few of those, but like I mean like full like HD, you know, widescreen like theatrical releases.
if they want to do it in like
nowadays,
the way that they kind of did Mando, where it's like practical effects rather than CG. I feel like if you over CG everything like you did in the entire new trilogy,
Well-
it loses a lot of the pizzazz.
That was a lot of the argument against
Yeah.
it, is they actually replaced some practical shots
Mhm.
with CG, and I even agree with them that hurt the overall look of
Aesthetic.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some of what is loved about that is the fact that it was all practical.
And it was cutting edge for the time. Like a
It
lot
was,
of the
yeah.
stuff they did was very
Well, literally,
very
they
cool.
had razors and film, and you could see little squares.
But even like if
Alright.
you look, it's fun looking at how they did the crawl, all the minifigures that they painted for like the space scenes, and how they did that basically like stop motion. Like
Yeah, the Rancor was stop motion.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot of
Really?
stop motion.
I did
Yeah.
not know that.
Oh, yeah,
That's
you could-
great.
They
Rewatch it,
overrode
Joe,
it with
and-
they overdid it with CGI, I believe, but it was originally
wasn't it
really
like was it a
good
claymation?
stop motion. No, I think it was plasticine.
They did do
models.
okay.
I know a lot
And
of
it was
the
it's
backgrounds were, like,
excellent.
miniatures.
They did a fantastic job, but it was still obviously stop motion animation.
I know a lot of the backgrounds were miniatures that they
So-
CG'd in, or not
Yeah.
CG'd, but like green screened, basically.
I've given my reasoning for A New Hope being number one. Joe has gone over Rogue One. Luke, I want to hear arguments why ROTJ is the best Star Wars movie.
It was a culmination of Luke's travels, everything that he did. It was him finally becoming a Jedi, making that stand, helping his friends, and it was at the time the end of his story, and it was the highlight. It was the end game, essentially, when it was the result of a successful trilogy, because you had the introduction, you had the bridging episode, bridging movie, Empire Strikes Back, which was not as good, but it connected the beginning to the end, and it was a great culmination, and it was just so fantastically done. When you see, it was the redemption of Anakin, it was everything that needed to be done, and it was all tied up pat.
I love it because I
was
feel like
golden.
you get to see what the Jedi were supposed to be. I think Luke was awesome, and he's what every little kid wanted to be when they grow up.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I love Return of the Jedi. It was very hard for me to not put this number one. It's definitely probably my most watched movie. I know Ewoks get a lot of criticism, but I love the way that they wrap up the story arc.
So
Hey,
I had
I'm
Empire
sorry.
Strikes Back at number one.
Yeah. I do want to say
well-
though, real quick, Ewoks. As one of the little kids who grew up watching all the Star Wars movies, Ewoks were amazing. Fight me.
I didn't mind the
Did you
Ewoks.
Fight
did you
me.
ever watch the Ewok movies that they made?
I never watched the Ewok movies, but I will say
Blade of Courage and Battle for Endor.
Oh my word! It was one of those. If I remember correctly, and I saw these when I was like 5. They were like little kids who lost their parents on Endor, and the Ewoks didn't eat them, which was a little weird because
I'm going to say one thing. That's probably not canon.
no, it's definitely not.
Not
canon.
anymore.
I will say one thing though. If you don't like Ewoks, you need to play the Ewok hunt mode in EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2. You need to play that. It's awesome. They are like terrifying in that. It's amazing.
I just
They were vicious warriors.
I was gonna say I think one thing I like about the Ewoks is that they're the underdog, but I think that it kind of really shows what the rebellion is about. It's about fighting whether or not you think you have the best chance, and it's not about outpowering the Empire. A lot of it was about outsmarting them. I mean, they used the woods and nature to hide and ambush and use
The two
trees.
logs
Yeah,
to
the tree.
crash the-
Yep, or they'd roll them under the feet of the ATSTs and knock them out that way.
Mythbusters proved that would work.
Yeah.
The log smash thing.
But yeah, just I can't outfight this guy. I'm just gonna carry a very heavy rock on a glider and drop it and hope it hits one. Like
Oh, and the bags of rocks hanging from the
bags of rocks
trees.
hanging from trees. Yep.
And the
But-
Ewok that hits himself in the face with a bullet.
was that Wicket? I think it was supposed to be Wicket.
It's probably
Oh.
Wicket, yeah.
I love Wicket too. Playing Lego
But
Star Wars.
you know,
I love Wicket.
it's funny you mentioned that about the Ewoks because in all actuality, it was always a progression, with the exception of 2, which I don't think actually had anything that fell into that category. When A New Hope came out, everyone hated C3 because it was the comic relief and it was a little over the top, and everyone hated it for that because the people who really got into it were like, "This is supposed to be a deep sci-fi story. Why is this ridiculous robot ruining everything?" And then it happened with the Ewoks. And then it happened with Jar Jar Binks.
I am
it's
going
it's
to
a
say
common
something
thing.
about Jar Jar real quick. And this is part of the reason I prefer Phantom Menace to Attack of the Clones.
Mhm.
Is I think the backlash for Jar Jar was so great that they actually rewrote Jar Jar.
Yeah.
Like that's confirmed obviously, but there are like scenes in Phantom Menace where you can like see Jar Jar mouthing lines as if he's like mind controlling people. Like he was meant to be a
Yeah.
minor villain.
Real quick.
And I think that's a big problem with the prequels and the sequel trilogy is that things were changed because of backlash,
Yeah.
and they really shouldn't have.
Yeah, I think we gotta start wrapping this up because we've been going for a long time. But I do just want to hear Josh real quick on Empire because Empire, I love Empire.
So 12-year-old Josh would have said Return of the Jedi all day because that was probably the one I watched the most when I was a kid, and I loved everything about it. But adult Josh has kind of started to love Empire Strikes Back more. Empire Strikes Back more because of Yoda, the introduction of Yoda, and all that wisdom that takes place there on Dagobah. Actually, when I was a kid, a lot of that scared me. So I
Especially
didn't
the
like to
cave. I was terrified
I
of the
didn't like
cave.
to watch that scene a lot, so I wouldn't. But then as an adult, I started watching it more and like really seeing what was going on and how much wisdom Yoda had, and he was just so fed up with Luke because he was just a punk. And then the introduction of the bounty hunters in Empire Strikes Back as well, which I love.
Actually,
the bounty hunters.
When you take into account the story arc, there's something to be said about Obi-Wan making a stand for Luke. Especially after the great failure that was Anakin.
Yeah.
And that was actually a redeeming arc for Obi-Wan because Obi-Wan failed ultimately. He had the responsibility to train Anakin and to keep him on the straight and narrow, and he failed. And it was partly because of the prophecy. Anakin was destined to destroy the Jedi Order. But Obi-Wan was able to redeem himself by making Luke the Jedi that Anakin was supposed to be. By giving him to Yoda to teach.
Yeah, it's like whoopsie, my bad. Here, Yoda, you try.
And speaking of, all things Star Wars, just because we're wrapping this up, have any of you seen the bad lip reading songs of
Oh
Star
my
Wars?
goodness, seagulls.
Hostiles on the Hill. Shout out to that because of the Empire Strikes Back. That's awesome.
My stick is better than breaking.
Bushes of Love is my favorite. Though.
Yes.
I
Yes.
love Bushes.
I play Seagulls in Beat Saber quite a
Okay,
bit.
I had a guy come into work one day. I work at a bank, and so I'm working on the teller line. This man comes in, and he has a Seagulls shirt. And I see it.
There's a shirt. I need to
Yes!
get that.
I think they have a merch store. And I just kind of look up at him. And they quoted one of the lines from the song. And his face just lit up. But, yeah. The important thing that you can get from tonight's live stream, though, is we love Star Wars. Except for the new trilogy. But we love Star Wars.
Yeah. So, all right. I'm sure that your list, if you're watching along at home, is different than ours. Let us know in the comments what your list is. We'd love to hear it. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe so you see our future content. We'll have another live stream next Monday. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I want them alive. No disintegrations.
Only a
Open the
Sith
blast
deals in-
doors. Open the blast doors. Sorry, Luke.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes. I will do what I must.
The Force will be with you. Always.